Hello, how are you? I want to give you a sneak peek of one of the benefits that we're offering on our Patreon page. For those who become a member at the $5 level, for each episode we're going to do a thing, we're going to call it Deeper Dig into the Hero's Journey, or Dig Deep into the Hero's Journey. Something along those lines. We haven't quite formalized that yet, but it'll be either myself, and what I hope for eventually in the future is where we have several people who would like to join in a group discussion. And we discuss the episode and the lessons we've learned from it and what we can take from these episodes and apply it in our daily lives. So if you'd like to join our Patreon page, join our campaign and be a part of our community, you'll find a link below in the comments section. And if you like the videos, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button on the bottom as well. So let's talk a little bit about the latest episode that we had. It was The Hero's Journey of Robert Harrion. And he was a gentleman that survived a very difficult battle with cancer. He's still surviving that battle with cancer. It's not over for him yet, but with what he went through for the past 3 years, it was truly amazing. I mean, what he endured and how he survived and his will to live was really something amazing. And I know there's a lot of people who survived cancer. It's not totally uncommon. I know a lot of people's lives are touched by cancer, either for themselves or someone they know. My father died from lung cancer. I know a lot of people who have battled cancer. But Robert really went through an extremely difficult journey. And in the first episode, if you haven't seen it yet, we talk a little bit about Robert's background, where he came from. And I think one of the lessons I learned, and I think what helped him, maybe if he doesn't realize it, I don't know that for sure, I'd have to ask him directly, but that military background. He was raised in a military family. They traveled around the world a lot, but his father was in the Navy. And I'm sure that sometimes his dad was probably pretty tough, right? Tough taskmaster. And he did mention that, he never really showed emotions up until recently. Really, when his first child was born, then he began to show some emotions. But he didn't show those emotions. But I would suspect that military upbringing had an impact in that battle that he's had with cancer. The toughness, the discipline. Had to be a lot of discipline to survive that. Robert had to go through an awful lot to get to where he is today. And just being that tough, mental toughness, what carried him through. I took that away and I try to apply that in my life. But there was another thing. I think the most important thing for me, the thing I took away the most from our discussion, and we just had this a few weeks ago, and I was actually the one who edited this episode, so I've heard it many times. But there was one point in Robert's journey that really defined it for me, defined his battle, and what I have taken away the most from this episode. And this was when he got the call from his doctor giving him the results of the test and that he had cancer. And I asked him, so what's the first thing that goes through your mind when the doctor tells you you have cancer? And his answer was, well, why me? Why is this happening to me? But then his mindset changed and he started thinking about his family, his wife, and his children. And he thought, I have to live. I have to survive this for my family, for my daughters. They need me. They need me to stick around. And it was that moment, I believe, now, again, I'll have to ask Robert directly, but I believe when he set that mindset that he is going to survive this no matter what, that carried him through the difficulties up until today. That mindset, I will not die from this. This will not be the end of me. It carried him through. He was a very difficult time, which you'll hear in the upcoming episode in the second part, or more of the lessons he learned. But there was I mean, he could barely walk. He had to learn to walk again. He couldn't even pick up 5 pounds. So he had to learn to live again. Just to get to a normal life took about 18 months. And he still has battles. You hear something in the next episode where he had a little bit of a scare here recently. But again, that mindset, that worldview, call it a mindset, call it a worldview. You know, our lives are shaped by our worldviews. Really, it shapes us more than anything. How we view the world and how we interact with the world shapes everything for us. And that mindset of, I will not die, I will survive this, I believe, was one of the main factors that carried him through. So I hope you think about that and you take it away. I try to apply it in my life. You know, we would get caught up in the everyday shenanigans of our lives, and we sometimes forget these lessons, but it's good to get that mental habit of going back and remembering these things and setting up habits and rituals in our lives that bring us back to that point, to get back to one, is what I call it. Get back to one. Get back to the foundation. And remembering that worldview. And if you have a worldview that doesn't seem to help you much, perhaps it's time to change it. I know at times in my life, even now, at times, I catch myself with that somewhat negative worldview. And it affects everything. And it appears in my language, in my actions. So we need to examine our worldviews and our mental mindsets and where we are. And not just for us, but for everybody else. Not just your immediate family, but the larger family at whole. I've been reading the latest book from Yuval Noah Harari, who was the author of Sapiens, which was really a paradigm-shifting book for me. If you haven't read Sapiens, get it and read it, or listen to it. It is a paradigm-shifting book for me, and Homo Deus was incredible as well. But in 21 Questions for the 21st Century, Yuval brings up some very important points that, you know, we're at a point now where some of the challenges we're facing are not within our families or our immediate families or our tribes or our nations. The challenges we're facing now are global. Global. We've become a global, one big world. And that doesn't mean just other humans, other species on the planet itself. So I think if we have this narrow-minded, tribal worldview, I don't think it's going to propel us into the future and help us deal with whatever's coming down the pipeline. Something's obviously happening ecologically, the massive change in technology, the loss of privacy. All this is occurring. So what are we going to do as a global tribe to address these issues, especially the climate issue? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Christian or you live in America or Russia, black, white. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a pygmy, and no offense to pygmies. This affects all of us, not just humans too, all of us. So it's something to think. So I took away that from Robert, and I want to thank him. I hope he sees this for reminding that and putting that in my mind as well, that I need to look at that, and I need to keep these worldviews and these mental mindsets and check myself from time to time, where are they? And the ones that help me and help others, to reinforce them. And the ones that don't, create other habit patterns that will help change it. Thanks for watching. Again, if you want to become a member of our Patreon community, you'll find the link below. If you enjoy these videos and you want to catch your podcasts on YouTube, then hit the subscribe button below. Thanks for watching. We'll talk soon.